concern I have is obviously, bottom line, we want to win elections.
Right.
And we want to communicate, we want to be able to advocate and select people that will listen to the grassroots and not just to money, etc. And that's what I'm not quite seeing as a connection here, because obviously all these things are nice, but if we don't in 15 months have people out there knocking on doors and raising money, so this maybe is a precursor.
So part of this plan is saying that we need to be able to build up an infrastructure that's going to help us be successful. And part of that has to do with getting the youth involved and getting young people involved. And I think part of that has to do with using technology and using the internet, using MySpace, using YouTube, and using all these things that young people and other people are finding of a lot of use. There's a very tiny percentage of people that really understand the issues, that really understand what their vote actually means.
I think the other thing that you have is that you have a lot of people who they feel that that's their issues. Nobody's paying attention to my issues. Right. And I think we have to become aware of what they believe are their issues so that we can address them.
There's some good positions on various issues and not simply being against something.
Right.
And yet there's going to be diversity of opinion.
Right.
And I think we need to encourage that diversity. Right. I mean, you know, it's all right for you to have a different opinion than mine.
Right.
It's actually going to be December 18th.
Okay.
So that's the kind of timeline that you're really looking for,
right.
looking at
right.
for this next election.
Right.
So to find someone who is enthusiastic in these things, that's, you know, you're looking at 6 months, you're not looking 15 months down the line. So if you want to do something this time. So I think there's two things you've got to look at. What's a long-term plan and what's a short-term plan.
Right.
So one of the things that, you know, that as a party we need to do is generate enthusiasm, not just on 08, 010, you know,
right.
10, 12.
Right.
We've got to generate enthusiasm for 07, 09, 11.
Right.
Even those things, people that look at these elections as being boring. But, you know, when you talk about where real democracy goes on, there's nothing more democratic that goes on in what happens in Harrison Township on the trustees decide how much your garbage is going to be to collect. Or that's the most democratic and affects more people more than anything else. Right. So I think we have to look at that as a.
Well, I think your point about taking a long-term view
right.
fits in with what I'm suggesting.
Right.
Is I think the idea of building an infrastructure right. is something that is going to last. The other thing this plan suggests is that we should even think about building a studio here in our headquarters, and people that want to run as a Democrat, right now they're kind of out on their own. They have to do all this stuff, get the money to do the videotaping, get the money to do the advertising, whereas I think that could be part of our infrastructure to do that, and that might be one way to raise money. One thing I've been thinking about is, you know, if you're a good Democrat and you support the party, and you know, and I know that you want to be helpful, how can I ask you for money? You know, what can I do that? What kind of program can I present to you that you'd say, well, sure, I'll give you $10 for that, or sure, I'll give you $20 for that, or maybe I'll just give you $5 for that. And I think thinking through some of these ideas in a way that says, here's how we can approach Democrats to help us support it is also kind of embedded in this plan, although it doesn't really spell it out there. But we have over 60,000 Democrats in Montgomery County, and most of them are not, or 60,000 people that voted Democratic anyway.
Democratic primary.
In the Democratic primary, which doesn't, you know, so we have a potentially a great resource of people that might want to help a revitalized Democratic Party that they feel like are moving a direction they can believe in. And I think that making it all about democracy is sort of what I'm suggesting here in this plan.
Just the other thing, I like the ideas of organizing things by House district and creating congressional committees.
Right.
I just want to make sure that as a party, though, you understand we have to organize by state law, by wards and precincts, because that's state law has set
It's in the Ohio
revised code, so.
But there's
the party
nothing to keep
itself,
you from having a
having
committee.
separate committees. Yeah, I just want to make sure that you understand that, I mean, as the party itself can't reorganize
Right.
by House districts, it's by state law how we
But the
organize.
When I taught government, for example, one of the things that my students were sort of indifferent about the idea of government. And so I started off with do you think we ought to teach government? Should that be a requirement, and why? And that do you think that there's a difference, should we have a local, national, and state government? Getting them to think in terms of questions, or to invite them to give questions, and that then, what is a political party? When you talk about how many Democrats there are a lot of people who are Democrats and don't know it.
Right. Well, that's my point. Because they've not been educated to find out.
And that they, that's right, they're not educated enough, or they have opted out.
Right.
And that what we're trying to do, I think, is to opt them in, because I have no question in my mind, from my experience, that the Democrats are the majority.
Right.
I have one concern, and point two, grassroots. The Democratic Party, by its inherent nature, is partisan.
Right.
And my goal here is to elect candidates.
Right. The Republicans and Democrats did a great damage. What he said wasn't true, but that we have to fight that perception which is out there. Why are we different?
That you mentioned this, did you have an idea for a number to fully implement the plan?
What do you mean? What do you mean?
The number of people it would take working as those throughout the organizations that you have outlined.
No, but it would take many, many people to implement
certainly,
this plan. But I haven't really thought through. I mean, we have, like here, there's over 26. There's over 26 high schools in the county. There's about that many communities.
You could have outreach teams that took a DVD and introduced it to each high school.
And I think, we have 5 people on our committee now. So we had 6 people in attendance this evening. But, in order for this grassroots plan to really work, it would probably take hundreds of people. And I think that's why it has to be a compelling enough idea that we can get people who want to do this. Not because it's organizationally an imperative to do it, but because they find it interesting, they find it challenging, they find it something for their personal growth. And
for the short term, I'd start with a 4.
yeah.
I'd start with working.
So, and again, what do we do in this, in this period of time between now and 2008? As Mark was saying, might be, the short term, and then, whatever we do now, hopefully will be something we can build on in the future.
Do we have a list of the precincts?